Hey everyone, welcome back to English Connect.
Hi there. We're so glad you're here with us today.
I'm your host, Sophia.
And I'm Jason. This is your space to practice real, everyday English in a relaxed and friendly way.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support.
So, Sophia, today's topic is something I think a lot of our listeners struggle with.
Absolutely. We're talking about training your mouth to speak English. And I know that sounds a little strange, but hear me out. This is a real thing.
It really is. You can understand English perfectly. You can read it, write it, know all the grammar rules. But when you open your mouth to speak, nothing comes out right.
Your tongue feels clumsy, the sounds feel weird, and you just can't seem to make your mouth do what your brain wants it to do.
Has that ever happened to you? You're listening to us right now, and you probably understand everything we're saying. But could you speak this fluently? Could you make these sounds as easily as we do?
If the answer is no, you're not alone. And the good news? It's not about talent or intelligence. It's literally about training your mouth muscles.
Just like going to the gym trains your body, speaking English trains your mouth. And today, we're going to show you exactly how to do that.
We'll share practical strategies that actually work, talk about why this is so important, and give you exercises you can start doing right away.
Ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, Jason, let's start with the big question. Why does speaking English feel so physically difficult for non-native speakers?
Great question. So here's the thing. Every language uses different mouth positions, different tongue placements, different muscle movements. Your mouth has literally been trained since birth to make the sounds of your native language.
Right, so if you grew up speaking, say, Japanese or Arabic or Portuguese, your mouth muscles are conditioned for those specific sounds.
Exactly. And English has sounds that might not exist in your language. The TH sound, for example. That's a killer for so many learners.
Oh, absolutely. I had a student once who spoke perfect English grammatically, but she couldn't make the th sound to save her life. She'd say, I tink, instead of I think.
That's so common. And it's not her fault. Her native language didn't have that sound, so her mouth literally didn't know how to make it.
So the first thing we need to understand is that speaking is a physical skill, not just a mental one. You're not stupid if you can't pronounce something. Your mouth just hasn't learned that movement yet.
That's such an important point. People get so frustrated with themselves, but it's like expecting to play piano perfectly without ever practicing. Your fingers need training, and so does your mouth.
Exactly. So let's talk about practical strategies. What's the first thing someone should do if they want to train their mouth for English?
Okay, strategy number 1, and this is huge. You need to slow down and exaggerate. When you're practicing pronunciation, speak slowly and make the mouth movements bigger than normal.
Yes, don't try to speak at native speed right away. If you're practicing the word three, really feel your tongue between your teeth for that TH sound. Hold it there for a second.
It's going to feel weird and unnatural at first, and that's okay. You're building muscle memory. Eventually, you won't even have to think about it. Your mouth will just do it automatically.
I love the muscle memory comparison. It's like when you first learn to type. You have to look at each key and think about where your fingers go. But after practice, your fingers just know.
Perfect analogy. So, strategy number 2, use a mirror. This one is simple but so effective.
I do this with my students all the time. Watch your mouth in a mirror when you practice. See where your tongue goes, how your lips move.
And better yet, watch native speakers on YouTube or in movies. Pause the video, watch their mouth movements, then try to copy them exactly while looking in your mirror.
There are even YouTube channels specifically for this. They'll show close-ups of native speakers' mouths making different sounds.
Those are gold for learners. You can actually see that for the W sound, native speakers round their lips. For the R sound, the tongue curves back slightly.
Right, and these are things you can't learn from a textbook. You have to see it and feel it in your own mouth.
Okay, strategy 3. And this one might sound silly, but trust me. Practice individual sounds in isolation before you try full words or sentences.
What do you mean by that?
So let's say you struggle with the V sound. Don't immediately jump into a sentence like, I love visiting Venice. First, just practice making the V sound by itself. V, V, V.
Oh, I see. Just the pure sound over and over.
Exactly. Feel your top teeth on your bottom lip. Make that buzzing vibration. Do it 20 times. Then move to simple words. Very, video, 7.
Then short phrases, then full sentences.
Right. You're building from the ground up. It's like learning to run. You crawl first, then walk, then jog, then run.
That makes so much sense. I think a lot of learners try to jump straight to full-speed conversation and get discouraged when they can't do it.
Absolutely. Which brings me to strategy 4, shadowing. Have you heard of this technique?
Yes, shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and try to speak along with them at the same time, matching their rhythm and pronunciation exactly.
It's incredibly effective. You can do this with podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, TV shows, anything where you can hear clear English.
The key is to really match everything, not just the words, but the intonation, the speed, the emotion, the mouth movements.
Right. You're basically becoming a mimic, and your mouth learns by copying.
I recommend starting with slower, clearer speech, maybe kids' shows or beginner podcasts, then gradually work up to faster, more natural speech.
Great advice. And here's a tip within a tip. When you're shadowing, record yourself, then listen back and compare your recording to the original.
Oh, that's smart. You'll hear the differences you might not notice while you're speaking.
Exactly. You might think you're matching perfectly, but when you listen back, you realize your rhythm is off or you're missing certain sounds.
So self-recording is strategy 5?
I'd say so, yeah. Record yourself regularly, reading out loud, having a pretend conversation, describing your day. Then listen critically.
And don't just listen for mistakes, also notice what you're doing well. Celebrate the progress.
Good point. It's easy to only focus on what's wrong and get discouraged. But if you compare recordings from a month ago to today, you'll probably notice real improvement.
Speaking of practice, let's talk about strategy 6, tongue twisters. Are these actually useful or are they just for fun?
They're actually super useful. Tongue twisters force your mouth to move quickly between difficult sound combinations.
Like, she sells seashells by the seashore, or how much wood would a woodchuck chuck?
Exactly. These aren't just games, they're genuine pronunciation exercises. They train your mouth to switch quickly between different positions.
And the beauty is you can choose tongue twisters that focus on sounds you struggle with. If you have trouble with R and L, find tongue twisters with lots of those sounds.
Right. Start slow, then gradually speed up. The goal isn't to say it perfectly at lightning speed, it's to build that muscle coordination.
Okay, here's strategy 7, and this one is crucial. Consistency over intensity.
Yes, it's better to practice 10 minutes every single day than to do 2 hours once a week.
Your mouth needs regular, repeated exposure to build those habits. It's like learning an instrument. Daily practice beats occasional marathon sessions.
And 10 minutes isn't that much, right? Everyone can find 10 minutes, maybe while you're getting ready in the morning, or during your commute, or before bed.
I tell my students to connect it to something they already do every day, like I'll practice English pronunciation while I'm making my morning coffee.
That's the habit stacking method. Attach your new habit to an existing routine.
Exactly. Then it becomes automatic, not something you have to remember or motivate yourself to do.
Let's talk about strategy 8, minimal pairs practice. This is a technique that focuses on similar sounds that learners often confuse.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about ship and sheep, or bit and beat. These pairs sound almost identical, but there's a subtle difference.
And if you can't hear the difference, you definitely can't produce the difference.
Right. So you practice these pairs side by side. Say ship, then sheep, back and forth. Feel how your mouth changes slightly.
For ship, it's a short, quick I sound. For sheep, you hold that E sound longer, and your lips might stretch more.
Exactly. There are lists of minimal pairs online for every sound contrast that learners struggle with. Practice them religiously.
This is especially important for sounds that don't exist in your native language. Your brain might not even register them as different sounds at first.
True. And that brings me to strategy 9. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. This could be from a teacher, a language exchange partner, or even using apps that analyze your pronunciation.
There are some great apps now that use AI to listen to your pronunciation and tell you what you need to improve.
Yeah, and while they're not perfect, they can definitely help you identify problems. Plus, they're available anytime, which is convenient.
But nothing beats feedback from a real person, honestly. If you have access to a native speaker or a good teacher, use that resource.
Absolutely. A good teacher can watch your mouth movements and say, no, your tongue needs to be here, not there.
Okay, last strategy. Strategy 10, immerse yourself in natural speech patterns. This means listening to a lot of real English, not just textbook English.
Right. Watch movies and TV shows, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. Pay attention to how native speakers actually talk in real life.
Notice the rhythm, the connected speech, the contractions. Real English doesn't sound like a textbook.
For example, we don't say, I am going to go to the store. We say, I'm going to go to the store. Your mouth needs to learn those natural contractions and reductions.
And the melody of English. English is a stress-timed language, which means we stress certain syllables and words while others get compressed.
That's why English can sound almost musical, with a rhythm and flow. If you speak every word with equal stress, it sounds robotic and unnatural.
So listen actively. Don't just have English on in the background. Really pay attention to how things sound.
And here's something important I want to emphasize. Training your mouth is a gradual process. You will not sound like a native speaker after a week of practice.
Oh, absolutely not. This takes months, sometimes years, of consistent practice.
But here's the thing. You don't need to sound exactly like a native speaker. That's not the goal.
Right. The goal is clear communication. If people can understand you easily, you're succeeding.
Exactly. An accent is totally fine. Embrace your accent. The important thing is that your pronunciation is clear enough that it doesn't interfere with understanding.
I always tell my students, I don't care if you have an accent. I care that I can understand what you're saying without effort.
Well said. And honestly, most native speakers find accents charming. It's only a problem if pronunciation is so unclear that communication breaks down.
So don't stress about sounding perfect. Stress about being understandable and confident.
Confidence is huge. Even if your pronunciation isn't perfect, if you speak confidently, people will understand you much better.
Whereas if you're mumbling and uncertain, even perfect pronunciation might not help.
True. Okay, let me ask you this. What's the biggest mistake you see learners make when it comes to pronunciation practice?
I'd say giving up too quickly. They try something a few times, it feels awkward, they don't see immediate results, so they quit.
Yeah, that's definitely common. People want instant results, but pronunciation is one of those things that requires patience.
What about you? What mistake do you see most often?
I think people practice in their heads, but not out loud. They'll read English silently and think they're practicing speaking, but they're not actually moving their mouth.
Oh, that's a great point. You have to actually speak out loud. Your mouth needs the physical practice.
Right. Even if you feel silly talking to yourself, you have to do it. That's the only way to build muscle memory.
I practice out loud all the time when I'm learning a new language. I'll narrate what I'm doing around the house. Now I'm making coffee. I'm pouring the water. The water is hot.
That's a great exercise. You're using real vocabulary in context and giving your mouth practice.
Exactly. And it doesn't require any special materials or apps, just you and your voice.
So simple, but so effective. All right, let's recap these strategies quickly for our listeners.
Number 1, slow down and exaggerate your mouth movements when practicing.
Number 2, use a mirror to watch yourself and compare to native speakers.
3, practice individual sounds before moving to words and sentences.
4, try shadowing, where you speak along with native speakers.
5, record yourself and listen back critically.
6, use tongue twisters to build mouth agility.
7, practice consistently, even if just 10 minutes daily.
8, work on minimal pairs to distinguish similar sounds.
9, get feedback from teachers, partners, or apps.
And 10, immerse yourself in natural speech patterns from real media.
10 solid strategies that, if you actually use them, will transform your spoken English.
The key word being actually use them. Knowledge without action doesn't help.
So true. You can listen to this podcast and nod along, but nothing changes unless you actually practice.
Start today. Pick one strategy and do it for 10 minutes. Tomorrow, do it again. Build that habit.
All right, everyone, let's break down some key vocabulary from today's conversation.
We're going to teach you 5 useful expressions that came up while we were talking about training your mouth to speak English.
First one, muscle memory. We used this phrase several times today.
Muscle memory is when your body learns to do something automatically through repetition, without conscious thought. Your muscles remember the movement.
Like when you type on a keyboard, your fingers just know where the keys are. You don't think about it anymore.
Or riding a bike, playing an instrument, or in our case, making certain sounds in English. After enough practice, your mouth just does it automatically.
So when we say you're building muscle memory for pronunciation, we mean you're training your mouth to make those sounds naturally without thinking.
Second expression, tongue twister.
A tongue twister is a phrase or sentence that's difficult to say quickly because it has similar sounds repeated. It twists up your tongue.
Examples include she sells seashells or Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
They're challenging even for native speakers, but they're great pronunciation practice because they force your mouth to move precisely between similar sounds.
Number 3, minimal pairs.
Minimal pairs are 2 words that differ by only one sound, like ship and sheep, or cat and cut.
These are super useful for pronunciation practice because they help you focus on one specific sound difference. If you can master minimal pairs, your pronunciation becomes much clearer.
Teachers often use minimal pairs to help students hear and produce sounds they're confusing. It's a targeted approach to pronunciation.
Fourth expression, to shadow or shadowing.
Shadowing is a learning technique where you listen to someone speaking and try to repeat what they're saying at the same time, matching their pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation exactly.
You're basically being their shadow, following along simultaneously, copying everything they do with their voice.
It's one of the most effective ways to improve pronunciation and fluency because you're mimicking native speech patterns in real time.
And finally, habit stacking.
Habit stacking is when you attach a new habit you want to build to an existing habit you already do every day.
For example, I'll practice pronunciation while I make my morning coffee. You're stacking your new habit onto an established routine.
This makes the new habit much easier to remember and stick with because it's connected to something you already do automatically.
The idea is from productivity research. It's much easier to build a new habit when you link it to an existing one rather than trying to create it from scratch.
So those are your 5 terms: muscle memory, tongue twister, minimal pairs, shadowing, and habit stacking.
All super useful for talking about language learning and pronunciation practice.
Well, Jason, I hope our listeners feel motivated to actually train their mouths now.
Me too. This is one of those topics where a little bit of knowledge can really change someone's approach to learning.
Absolutely. Once you understand that speaking is a physical skill that requires physical practice, everything makes more sense.
Okay, time for this week's challenge.
Here's what we want you to do. Choose one of the 10 strategies we discussed today, just one.
Then commit to practicing it for 10 minutes every day this week. That's it. 10 minutes, 7 days.
And come back here to the comments and tell us which strategy you chose and how it went. Did you notice any improvement? What was challenging?
For example, you could write, I chose shadowing and practiced with YouTube videos for 10 minutes daily. On day 1, I could barely keep up, but by day 5, I noticed I was matching the rhythm better.
We want to hear your real experiences. And remember, you're not alone. Other learners in this community are doing this same challenge.
Also, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with other English learners you know. This information can really help people who are stuck.
And subscribe if you haven't already. We create new episodes every week on practical topics just like this one.
You know, Sophia, I think the biggest takeaway from today is just that speaking English is trainable. It's not magic or talent.
Exactly. Your mouth is made of muscles, and muscles can be trained. Anyone can do this with the right practice.
So, don't give up. Don't think you're bad at English just because pronunciation feels hard. You just need the right training.
Start small, be consistent, and celebrate your progress. That's the formula.
All right, everyone, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for being part of this community.
Keep practicing, stay patient with yourself, and remember, your mouth can learn anything if you train it properly.
We'll see you next week with a brand new topic.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.